people are like, I had a prophecy that this was gonna happen to you 3 years ago.
Montell Fish, Daniel Caesar, both artists who grew up in the church. Montell Fish, who was a fan of the channel, we've had him on multiple times, and both got together for a 20-minute conversation about all the existential crises going on in their life. And a lot of it was saying the most cliche things you could possibly think of in a conversation like this.
I feel like life is a simulation sometimes. I love my mom and I love women.
Religion, in a lot of ways, and probably in more ways than it should have, just represented oppression.
It's a timing and an energy thing. It's all a mind game.
But there was one statement made that went from a nothing burger to something pretty dark.
Sometimes you're like, oh, it like slips into narcissism, but you think you're looking for answers.
I definitely have some artists that can be considered narcissists, and
I admire them so much. It takes balls to commit to that level of self-indulgence.
Yeah.
The one thing that God didn't want them to have was knowledge.
Isn't that weird?
Knowledge of good and evil. All Satan really offered them was like, yo, do you want to know? He was like a professor, you know what I mean? He's like your first year at college.
And I wanted to address it because I think these sorts of conversations are influential on young people's minds when people make these sorts of bold statements. But before we get into that, guys, my name is Ruslan. This channel exists to encourage, empower, and inspire you to live a life that blesses God. If it's not your first time watching a video, you might as well subscribe. What are you doing?
The reality of it is like, oh, but I'm also 26, and I'm like, I mean, obviously, you have a moment that you can get into fame, so there's like a realness where I can express myself and be like, no, I am hungry, and like I do want to be a star.
I appreciate his vulnerability. Like, I think it's good when someone could just be honest and say, I want to be a star.
Yeah.
I think the dangerous part about that is wanting to be a star for the sake of wanting to be like wanting attention.
Yeah.
Is not helpful. My advice to people would always be become effective at something. Become really, 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 really good and effective at something that helps people. And if you become famous as a byproduct of that, or if you become wealthy as a byproduct of that, praise God. But don't make the famous or the wealth aspect be the pursuit. Like, I don't think that that's helpful for anyone's paradigm. I just think that's such a backwards paradigm. Like, again, desire to be great at something, and then if fame and success comes as a byproduct, praise God. Don't desire to be famous for the sake of being famous.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that could get out of check really quick, because then you literally start compromising. You start doing the thing that you maybe didn't want to do. You start playing into algorithms that you maybe didn't care for. You start making art that you maybe didn't want to make because you know that the ends justify the means, and I will be a bigger star if I play this character.
But I don't know at what cost, because I have all this religious that says like you're probably gonna want to kill yourself, or you might go down this route.
I don't know at what cost, because I have all this religious ish that says you're probably gonna want to delete yourself. What is it worth to gain the world and lose your soul?
I don't know. I still get messages that are like, people are like, I had a prophecy that this was gonna happen to you 3 years ago. And like, I remember I got this one DM that was actually like 3 or 4 years ago that kind of said some of the stuff that's happening now. Like, I'm gonna make music in this way for this audience, and like I'm gonna basically go down a path of like destruction.
He almost said the devil. I'm gonna make music for this audience, because the text message probably said you're gonna make music for the devil, and he's like modifying it because he's like, it's kind of true.
Montell, if this ain't the Lord trying to get your attention, brother, then you have the nerve to be angry with your Christian friends and fans. This is the Lord trying to get your attention and get you back to him. Now that's not even the darkest part. That's not even the darkest part. It's not like, oh man, it's so sad he went from making amazing worship music to someone prophesying it all. And by the way, shout out to whoever told him that, because you know that now that's a real prophetic word. That's not a vague encouragement. You're gonna go down a dark path, and you're gonna get super successful and drift from that's because a lot of prophecy in the scriptures is warnings.
Yeah.
It's not like
your life is going to get better.
Your life is
You're going to win.
Better. The breakthrough is right around the corner.
Yeah.
God's going to open. Like,
I don't know what's going on in your life, but the Lord tells me that like you can get through it.
Yeah. Like a lot of prophecy in scripture is warning. And as much as that broke my heart, and this whole thing broke my heart, that's not even the darkest part. The darkest part is what Daniel Caesar says next, and them leaving this in.
Messes with me sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's really like a BC-AD thing. I just remember the day that I decided that I was gonna do this.
Pause it. Did he just say it's a BC-AD thing? So it's really like before Christ or after death, like when Christians say, oh, in my BC days.
Yeah.
And he's using that Christianese to say one of the darkest things one could possibly say. I've only heard one other person say this to my face.
Really?
It was when we had Tim from the New Evangelicals on.
Oh.
Remember
wow.
he said that in the interview?
Yeah, he did.
And watch what he says next.
And it was just because of the way I was raised. I was like, it was also the day I decided that I was okay with going to hell.
So what? That made no sense. Oh, no.
It was the day, my BCAD moment was the day I decided I'm okay with going to hell.
Darkness.
You know what I mean? That's kind of like, that's because it's a binary thing. It's like, yo, if you're gonna do this, then you're gonna go to hell. That's what everyone told you.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
Damn.
And I was like,
So you notice what he said? It's a binary thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a binary thing.
If you want to make music and you wanna have a platform,
Yeah.
you have to go to hell.
It's not a binary thing.
Mm.
It's not a binary thing. Montell had a platform before he decided to make what he's making now.
Yeah.
Montell was doing fine before any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Montell could have continued, this is going to be a hot take, Montell could have continued making the same type of music he's making just without cussing out his Christian audience
Yeah.
and smoking cigarettes. And I don't think most Christians would have been like, talk to me. Is it about God? Is it about the girl? I don't know. It's not a binary thing. What's binary is who you're allowing this music to make you. What's binary is who you're allowing the fame and the clout and the money to make you. That's the binary thing. It's something that you can leverage to serve God. You are now serving. Something that you can make your master, which is your platform, your fame, your notoriety, your time, your talent, and treasure to do good, to build wells overseas, to feed the homeless people in your area, to point people to, I don't know, not do drugs, not smoke cigarettes, not be rebellious, not be led by your emotions, but instead be led by truth. You could be doing that, but instead, it's about you wanting to be famous and self-actualization and your art and your clout and you being a star. That's the binary thing. The how matters to God.
pretending like I don't want to do, you know what I mean? Like, it's either
Can
way you
be
lose.
fake. Yeah,
It's either way you
exactly.
lose.
Either way you
Either I
lose.
live in hell on earth, because my only other skill is washing dishes. That's what I would be doing right now.
That to me, on a deeper level, it sounds like this brother might have been raised in a cult or something, because his mentality is, I can't do music and love God. False. Then he says, my only other skill in life is doing dishes. This is why we talk about skill acquisition. This is why we talk about you not living a life where you're so desperate that you just want to be famous because you don't think you have any other value to offer. You can do other things, guys. Those of you guys that want to be famous because that's all I know. It's like growing up, and where I grew up, how I grew up, people wanted to be athletes or entertainers. And the truth is, there's a lot more options now. If you've grown up poor, there's so many more options you can do. If you're acquiring skills, then you don't have to just be an artist.
What's even scarier is the thought that you should be an artist because you have no skills. I think it should be the opposite. I think it should be like, I desperately, for my own good, need to not have any notoriety, any platform, any level of fame because I don't have any skills. You shouldn't desire to have fame or notoriety, but you should desire excellence in your craft after you have all the skills to handle that. Right. Not just work wise, but emotionally.
The character to handle it, right?
Exactly.
The character to handle it, because you could have the skills without the character. A lot of people could have the character without the skills.
Yeah.
You could have the skills with the character, but the lack of drive and the lack of ambition, right? So you need all the above.
Or I just risk eternal damnation. So I'm just cross my fingers. But sometimes it really you, because now it's kind of like, it is a path to destruction. It's like, some days, when something bad happens and you're feeling down, I make decisions really not caring about my life. Because if you feel like you don't care if you live or die on earth, and then you're also like, I'm already going to hell too, it's like, bro,
imagine,
give me, I don't care. And you make decisions without thinking about the future because you've given up on your future.
Exactly.
Because your future is fire and hell.
Because you're so dramatic, and you're like,
because you're so dramatic,
and you're like, you're just willing to. You don't care because you're like, because you think that dramatic, but you have to.
So you're really coming, like, nothing to lose, kind of, you know what I mean?
So this is where, if I could parallel this to something, this is what it sounds like. I don't care if me driving 120 miles on the freeway causes me to crash and burn and hurt other people. Because if I'm going to drive on the freeway, I'm going to go 120 miles an hour.
It's a binary.
I'm either going to go 120 miles an hour or like, I'm just going to walk. And I don't like walking, and I'm not good at walking, and walking sucks. So I'm going to go 120 miles an hour on the freeway, and I don't care if I crash and burn and hurt other people. Who cares? Because I want to go 120 miles an hour on the freeway. There's nothing emotionally intelligent or logical about this, right? Because these guys are creatives, they're artists, so they're going to lean more into the emotional intelligence side. There's nothing emotionally intelligent about that. There's nothing empathetic about that. There's nothing wholesome about that thought. And the flip side, there's also nothing logical or linear about that thought. It's a completely asinine premise. You don't have to go 120 miles an hour on the freeway. Did you know you can just go 75? I mean, maybe the speed limit's 65. You just go a little harder. Those of us that love Jesus and are also ambitious, we go just a little harder. We go with the flow of traffic, right? We go just a little faster. Or you could take the side streets, or you can get a bike, or you could take public transportation. There's so many ways to the destination, right? There's so many ways to the destination. But in your mind, you've created this false dilemma that I'm either cool with going 120 miles an hour on the freeway and dying and hurting other people, because that's what the language they used, destruction. That's what Daniel Caesar said. I'm cool, the destruction. Or I'm okay, or I have no other options because my only other skill set is washing dishes. Or I'm going to walk. And if I walk, I'm going to die. So it's death by either way. I'm going to walk from dying because there's no way I'll make it there in time, or I'm going to go 120 miles an hour and put other people at risk and put myself at risk. This makes no sense. This makes no sense. And I think this is a byproduct of isolation, of insulation, and of having way too much time in your hand and in your head and in your emotions, is when you make statements like this. Because there's so many other ways you can do it. And for anyone to say, I know better than God, and I think I'm more moral than God. And when I really count the cost, I've came to the conclusion that I'd rather go to hell than to submit to Jesus being Lord. I'd rather go to hell than to lay down my life on this side of eternity so that I could get to spend eternity with God and I could actually have a better quality of life. I think most of us would agree that fame isn't always good. Being a star isn't always good. Immense access to excess isn't always good. I think most of us who are reasonable will come to those conclusions. I think Montell will probably acknowledge that. And so this was heartbreaking, but there's so much false ideology and so many false binaries and just logical fallacies that are presented here as if they're truth. And because they sit and think about these sorts of things, there's no one to push back. And so at the very least, I would hope that they would see this as someone pushing back. And I'm trying to be as gentle as I could be. These words matter, and there's kids looking up to them, and they think this is fly. They think this is cool. And I promise you there's so many other options. And I think what they're looking for, they already found. They just don't want to submit to it. It's like the person, I got a friend, right? He's always texting us in a group text about the latest supplements and the red hot sauna and, red light therapy and this thing and that supplement and this thing. And it's like, bro, are you even eating enough protein? Are you eating in a caloric deficit? So you're always looking for the latest hack, right? These are rich people problems. You're looking for I got a masseuse. I got the sauna in the garage. I got this supplement. I'm taking these supplements. I'm doing this. And it's like, but are you getting enough chicken and eating in a caloric deficit so that, you look good with your shirt off? Because all the other stuff, you just go from one fad to another fad. And that's what this reminds me of. It's like not doing the basics. And when you're not doing the basics, then you're just chasing the latest thing. You're just chasing the latest trend of self-improvement nutritional stuff. And it's like, no, bro, the truth is simple. If you want to be in better shape, eat in a caloric deficit, eat more protein, and move. Go outside, walk, be active. That's it. It's not that deep. And so I think, but that's simple. That's not fun. That's not sexy. There's no secret knowledge involved in that, because I want to know the insight. I want to know that, right? And it's like, there's nothing there. Less processed food, less dessert, more chicken and broccoli. There, I fixed all your nutritional problems for you. We see, according to the Bible, that prayer is extremely important in terms of us being transformed from the inside out when we get aligned with God's will. For the Christians watching this channel, I want you guys to implement these spiritual disciplines in your day-to-day life. And the only way I've been able to do this consistently is through writing down my prayers in a prayer journal that does a few things. One, it allows me to reflect and come to God humbly and ask him to move on my behalf. And two, it allows me to document my prayers, which ultimately help me remember the very things that I was praying for and see the hand of God tangibly in my life when he answers them. So I would urge you, consider writing down your prayers. It could be in a blank notebook. It could even be on your phone. Or you could check out the one I personally designed and used for my own quiet time and spiritual discipline that I think will be a huge blessing. It's the exact structure and system that I've used for years to pray and be more consistent in my spiritual disciplines. You can pick yours up today by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.